Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Ricky with TechBud Solutions, and welcome to our Sunday Stock Talk. I'm going to be breaking down your top stocks within this live stream, and all you literally need to do is, if you ever want to tune on in, it's absolutely for free. Just make sure you subscribe, and hopefully I earn your thumbs up. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. I wanted to quickly highlight some of the things that might be a little bit different this week. So for those that are a little bit newer to the market, this week we have the CPI data report. So that CPI data report is going to be mid to late this week. Let me go ahead and pull it up actually in our calendar very quickly. And for those that do not know exactly what that is, that means that there will be an inflation report that will pretty much be tracking if inflation is going up or down. Remember, inflation was a really big concern about 1 year ago. It's not so much a big concern, but it's still something that the Federal Reserve pays close attention to. So according to my calendar, it looks like Wednesday, November 13th, and this one's going to be 1 hour before the market opens. The CPI data report will be released. So this is 1 hour before the market opens, wherever it is that you are. The reason that this is important is that if we have an expectation that, oh, look, inflation, the CPI data report is going to come in at 2.4% versus the expectation of, or the previous of 2.4%. But let's say that it comes in at 2.7. Let's say that it comes in at 3%. Let's just say that there's a surprise. That was not something that was factored in prior. So if that is the case, then markets can drop because it wasn't something that was previously expected or factored in. Or if it comes in even better than what is expected, believe it or not, the markets can push up even higher. It's all dependent on what is expected and what is actually reported. So in this live stream, I wanted to make sure that I talked about 3 stocks that I think would be something to really pay attention to this week. They're not, I'm not going to talk about DJT because really a lot of beginners watch our videos, and DJT is not necessarily a super safe stock. I think that's pretty safe to say, right? DJT is an incredibly risky stock. It's Trump's social media application. Now that Trump is the president-elect, you would think that DJT would be skyrocketing, but that's not the case. It had a significant drop the day of and the day after, and because of that, I just would rather focus on the stocks that are uptrending and that a lot of people are talking about. So the 3 that I wanted to highlight are going to be Tesla, Coinbase, and Robinhood. And then for the remaining 2 of this live stream, I'm going to let you guys decide. So if you want me to break down your top stock, I just want it to make sense. Out of every opportunity this week, what is the number 1 stock that you're going to be paying attention to? I think a very common mistake that a lot of beginner traders make is that they overwhelm themselves with so many different, stocks out there of like, maybe I want to trade this or that, or if, kind of like when you go to a grocery store, and the more you limit yourself with the amount of options, the easier the decision or kind of like that debate should be, right? Stay micro-focused, focus on what's important, create a trade plan, and stick to it. So the first one that I quickly want to highlight is Tesla. Tesla has obviously had an amazing past week. I think it was like a total of 16 days. It went from $212 per share all the way to highs of $328. If I'm not mistaken, during overnight hours, I know some trading platforms have access to it. Overnight hours, Tesla's currently trading at like $334, $335 per share. So it's up like 4 or 5% on the overnight hours. It doesn't mean anything because by the time the market opens, those can completely correct themselves. But nonetheless, Tesla is an incredibly bullish stock right now. I know a lot of you guys know that obviously Elon was part of Trump's administration. Supposedly Elon's going to be in charge of the deficit. That's kind of like what Trump has continuously talked about. I know Elon is very concerned about the almost $36 trillion that the US is in debt. And while the entire world continues to talk about, well, I don't know how I feel about this, or I don't know how I feel about that, or, these specific one-off scenarios that only affect 5 or 10% of the US population, there's one thing that will affect all of us. And that is if we continue to stack to our deficit, eventually the bubble's going to burst. And even Elon has said it himself that it will be bad for all of us. Not 5%, not 10%. But again, as you continue to have these political debates or political conversations with one another, I want to remind you one thing. Although money isn't everything, $35 trillion in debt is not good. and it has not gotten better for the US. We spend about $2 trillion in interest payments alone, and things need to change. So hopefully, whatever they actually put into effect actually makes America great again. Because if not, again, this is the part that is really concerning, because we are catching the markets at all-time highs. Now we're seeing this influx of hype and demand from the rest of the world, pumping Tesla, NASDAQ, all of big tech. Everything is thriving right now based off of the expectation that everything is going to be okay. And you really have to hope that they don't just talk, but that they can walk the walk, right? And I'm sure that's something that we can all agree on, something that we all hope for. But again, I want to see results, just like many of you guys. But there is no question that if Tesla continues with that same momentum, a lot of people think that it's on track to exceed new all-time highs. And because of that momentum, I think it's a top stock to watch this week. Not because you need to buy it, but if direction is clear and it's showing signs of higher highs and higher lows and there's no indication of a pullback, then great, right? We can kind of just go with the trend, direction's in your favor, and I would personally treat it as a day trade. That's just me. Buying at $320 or $330 per share, I think it's very safe to say that if direction is in your favor, it makes sense on why I would trade it and go with the bulls. But to carry that position overnight at these extremely overbought levels, in my opinion, the downside risk is just too great. It just wouldn't make sense for me to want to swing trade it, right? At these very overbought levels, like we've talked about before, kind of like a rubber band. How far can you stretch it before it finally snaps, right? And I think that's what a lot of people are thinking of. There is no question that the hype can continue. And as long as the momentum is there, I'm all for that. And that is why I would take it day by day when it's this overbought. But eventually, it most likely will snap and it will fall just as quick as it ran up. And that is why you got to be very, very cautious at these extremely overbought levels. If you are someone that bought in at $212, $230, $240 per share, even at $300 per share, I mean, you're kind of chilling, right? You have a lot of cushion, a lot of margin to work with, and direction is in your favor. So I get why you're holding, because you, again, your upside of how much it is you've already made, you have some nice wiggle room that you can kind of, tolerate a pullback. But again, for those that are buying at 320, 330, maybe even 340 per share, because we don't know where Tesla's going to open, I think it's a very important conversation to have with yourself of, okay, well, what is my intention? When you hear a lot of people, and again, I know a lot of people in the comment sections are going to be saying, oh, everyone should buy and hold Tesla. You buying at $320 per share or $330 per share is so different than someone who just bought 1 week ago at $230 per share. It is so massively different. The hype has been factored in. And if you're catching it at the peak and you bag hold that stock and it does begin to correct itself, remember, please do not put yourself in a position in which you cannot tolerate. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. The next one that we need to talk about is, have you guys been paying attention to crypto? Who's been paying attention to crypto? Let me see a show of hands in the live chat. With Bitcoin at $81,000 per coin. Am I the only one that is getting all the notifications? Bitcoin is absolutely, skyrocketing based off of the hope that with having Elon there and Trump there, who have shown interest in supporting, Bitcoin itself, can Bitcoin finally hit 100,000 per coin? And again, as long as direction is in your favor, I'm all for that. The trend is your friend. It makes sense. But again, if you're buying at 81,000 and then there's some form of pullback, you cannot be surprised if direction ends up changing against you. You just have to be very, very cautious. You are not buying at a cheap level. You are buying at all-time highs. And for me, I would have to be very careful in making sure that I'm watching very closely that there is no break of pattern and that buying pressure is still there. But the thing that I want to remind you, because the reason I chose the remaining two is the first one we talked about was Tesla. The second one that I brought up was Robinhood. Anytime that crypto goes up, so does Robinhood. Robinhood is also up after market hours, and it's up about 10%. But when crypto falls, so does Robinhood. You have to understand a lot of Robinhood's trading volume is crypto trading, right? So anytime that crypto is doing good, Robinhood does well. The same thing with Coinbase. So the reason I'm bringing this up is that I want you to understand what stocks are active when specific markets are thriving. And it's not because you have to trade them. I just want you to be aware of it, right? So Robinhood and Coinbase are two stocks that I'm watching very closely, because if they do continue to rally, as in Bitcoin, then you would expect that Coinbase and Robinhood would continue to rally, and respect it for what it is, right? The trend is your friend, make your money and bounce, right? But then if crypto begins to fall, Coinbase and Robinhood will fall. So if you think that crypto is potentially peaking soon, then hey, maybe shorting Coinbase or Robinhood can be something that you have in your watch list or on your to-do list. But if you think that Bitcoin is just getting started and you think it's going to go to $100,000 per coin, then again, you can jump into Coinbase or Robinhood. That will go up based off of Bitcoin's performance. I just wanted you to understand that, not because I feel like you guys need to trade it, but at least a lot of our LPP traders like when I talk about things like this, because it just makes beginners aware of, oh, okay, I don't have to trade crypto actually to make money off of it. I can trade whatever stocks that are publicly traded that are influenced by crypto. Then there's also crypto or Bitcoin ETFs that you can look into. I just personally know that Coinbase and Robinhood, based off of what I've experienced myself, those go up when crypto goes up. Those go down when crypto goes down. So it's really useful to understand that correlation, because if I think that crypto is about to crash, what do you think I'm going to be paying attention to potentially short? Maybe Robinhood or Coinbase. So I just want to make sure that we see eye to eye with that. So now that I talked about my 3 stocks that I'm going to be paying attention to, and that we talked about the CPI data report, I just wanted to quickly cover 2 stocks that you guys see value in. I want this ticker, and feel free to share it in the live chat. You do have to be subscribed to our YouTube channel to partake in that live chat. Just share it there. And if you have a second, just share with me why. Why are you paying attention to that stock this week? I just want to understand your why. I don't need to agree with it, but I just want to understand it. I want to see if you have a reason. Let's see what you guys have to say. Dogecoin, baby, all-time highs, inbound. Yeah, best of luck to you. No, for sure, for real. It's just obviously, different risk tolerance. I wish you nothing but the best with it, though. PLTR, high RSI. Okay, win, stock bullish divergence on the weekly. Okay, so watch Mara tomorrow. Earnings after market. I like that. You have a reason, Michael. There's a catalyst there. It's a catalyst-based event. Let's do Mara. I really like this. Okay. Do you guys know why I'm breaking it down, right? Because and let me just verify that it is going to report earnings. Yep, it reports earnings on Tuesday, not tomorrow, though. Is that correct? Am I correct on that? So it looks like Mara is about to report earnings. It hasn't been incredibly bullish. It looks like it's kind of been consolidating down here. Common resistance range right around $20 per share. Common support range right around $15 per share. I'm not a huge fan of that. It looks like it had a huge pump and it's been dumping ever since and kind of just been trading sideways. So right off the bat, I'm not a huge fan of that by any means. And it's on this huge upswing. So you would have to hope that it exceeds expectations so it gaps up. I personally do not like trading stocks right before they're about to report earnings because it's a coin flip. I do not know which way it's going to go. So why do I pretend, right? But I can see why you're paying attention to it. It would make a lot of sense that if it does report earnings and it begins to take off, that you can kind of go with the flow and jump into that momentum. Or if all of a sudden it dips, then you can get it at a much cheaper price. If it begins to show signs of a reversal after it dumps, you can buy into it, takes time, and then begin to make money on that recovery. I like it. I like that for sure. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Let's do one more. So Zillow has informed many brokerages that leads are doubling. Now, I'll pull it up right now. And again, I can't speak off of, obviously everyone's experience is different, but I know a lot of real estate agents and brokers follow me. Is it just me, or I don't feel like we're seeing an uptick in listings, but I don't think we're seeing an uptick in actual buying pressure. I feel like a lot of people, when interest rates began to get cut by the Federal Reserve, we began to see that, okay, people were getting more confident. Okay, maybe I can list my house for sale. A lot of you guys know that we buy and sell about 1 to 2 houses every single month, my business partner, Nick, and myself. We have not seen an uptick in demand of like, oh, wow, there's this incredible amount of buying pressure now. Not at all. We see more listings on market, but the days on market are also a lot higher. The buying pressure is not there. Buyers are not aggressively buying by any means. And maybe it's just my experience. And again, my experience does not define everyone. But anytime I have this conversation with other people, they're all saying the same thing. Again, also very closed group that I have, but just something that I thought I would share with you. So Zillow is what you're saying, big uptick. It's okay. On the 4-hour time frame, it's been pretty bullish. Yep, higher highs, higher lows. I can see exactly why you're paying attention to it, and it has huge upside potential. Okay, I can see that. Yeah, it's I don't want to call it a momentum play, but it's an ascending channel. It's quite overbought. I think you could see that with the RSI already surpassing 70, but direction is in your favor. And if you think that it's going to continue, all power to you. I do want to point out, and this is just my 2 cents, anytime that it rallies pretty strong, it tends to correct itself when that hype dies out, right? It rallies pretty strong. It tends to correct itself. So again, do I think that it's an incredibly cheap buy? No, but if direction is in your favor and there's no break-if pattern on the way down, then sure, make your money. But if this thing begins to show a break-if pattern, signs of resistance, and begins to pull on back, there's some decent pullback potential. Using the little trendline tool here on Webull, you can see that it offers about 17% downside. And to me, that's too much of downside for me to even want to consider buying it up there. Just my 2 cents. You let me know what you think. What about Rivian? I'll pull it up. So now we're surpassing 5, but it's okay. So Rivian, what do you guys think about Rivian? I think with what we are seeing right now with just Rivian's performance, like Rivian's going to need a Hail Mary type of approach. So lower highs, lower lows, direction is in your favor. This is a truly bearish stock that like you're really just hoping for it to recover because there is no indication of it. And if that's the approach that you want to go and you know that you can there's a 99% chance you'll be wrong, that's fine, right? But I would need it to do something different than what it's doing right now. And there's none of that. With Elon now being part of the Trump administration, is he going to really line his pockets or is he going to help the entire EV community? I think that could actually say a lot, right? Like, what are we going to see from Elon? Is he going to be like, oh, okay, Tesla everything or Tesla for everyone? Or is he going to be like, actually not so much maybe Tesla, let's help this entire community? I don't know Elon, right? So I don't know exactly what he's going to be doing, but all I'm saying is based off of Rivian's current performance, it's a shitty stock. It has a very strong bearish descending pattern. It is oversold, but there is no indication of a recovery yet. So instead of hoping for it to recover, maybe you can set an alert, and when it actually does, then choose to take action accordingly. Because it does have these upswings from time to time, but they don't last. So you have to be very careful with your entry. Same thing with this. Have to be very careful with your entry. So yeah. He already said good luck to them, LOL. Did he really? He doesn't want to help Rivian. Really? I can see why he doesn't want to help Rivian because I think Rivion's the one that partnered with Amazon, right? And I know Elon and Jeff are not necessarily, they don't always see eye to eye. So based off of the disses I see on X.com, right? So yeah. Along with Tesla play Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Oh, I know. I heard that meme. Trust me, my friends are all about it. Yep. The stock that I'm most unsure of, Ricky, is Nike. Bearish view off of China tariff, but I also think that it's a great American company that should do well under Trump. New CEO who has worked his way up through the Jordan era. I actually really like the way that you said that. It seems like you've done some due diligence. You know that Nike has been struggling recently. Yeah, this again, also, like, obviously ton of people like Nike. This is a type of company that when I see something like this, I'm going to end it with this one, just so you guys know. this is a type of, obviously, I love Nike. I think Nike is one of the biggest brands out there, one of the most recognizable brands. But when I see something like this, like I feel like a lot of people would be surprised. Like, did you know like Nike stock is not performing good right now? Kind of like Disney, right? Have you guys looked at Disney lately? Disney has not been performing well. When I see things like that, I kind of think maybe it's just as a dad now, because I have my daughter. I'm like, what if I just like invest for my daughter like a small dollar amount, like even if it's just $1,000 or $2,000 of her like brokerage, right? And I put it in something like Disney, right? Very during under very distressed times and unfortunate times for Nike and for Disney, that can these companies fail? Well, obviously any company can fail, but it's like they're like historic companies, right? Where I can't imagine a world without Nike. I can't imagine a world without Disney. Is that me just being hopeful, or is that willing to take a bet during an uncertain time? And just like Warren Buffett always says, buy when people are fearful and sell when people are greedy. So I get really excited when I see things like this, not because it has to recover, but because, asking yourself a simple question: can you tolerate the time that it might take for Disney to recover, for Nike to recover? And when we begin to do kind of like, our due diligence, it's like, okay, well, what happens if Nike does recover? 114% of upside, but then there's a lot of downside, right? So again, do it with a dollar amount in which you can tolerate. And that's the most important part. Do not put yourself in a tough position that you're going to be desperate if it sells off or if it continues to sell off, because both Nike and Disney are incredibly bearish right now. And they've been bearish since they've peaked. It looks like this thing peaked and it's been selling off for 3 years. So do we think all of a sudden 3 years just because I decided to buy it or you decided to buy it? Sometimes we think that way. Let's be honest, right? We're like, but I bought it now. Now it should recover. It's cheap. But it was also cheap a year ago. It's cheap now. Doesn't mean that it can't go lower, right? All right. What the heck? We have some wild people in here. There's just like ranting. Bobby, what are you doing? This isn't a place to... We're talking about the stock market, homeboy. All right. That's a great way to get banned. Okay. I'm going to put user in timeout. Maybe it's time to get some rest, Bobby. It's all good. Again, you can post anything you want on your social media. All power to you, right? But when we're talking about stocks, I don't need you to bring any political views in the chat. So, all right. Jesus, you guys are wild. Okay. Good stuff. Appreciate the videos. Yep. So PGY reports earnings on Monday. Any thoughts? Let's look it up real quick. I keep saying last one and I keep looking them up. I've enjoyed this live stream with you guys today. It's been more chill, other than Bobby. Big run up. I'm not a big fan of this. I don't like when companies run up this quick all of a sudden. Yeah, super low volume. It would not be something that I would buy. Big upswing. Direction has been in your favor. Great. Yeah, too volatile for me. Just not enough data to go off of, and based off of, yeah, you would just have to hope that it would have to continue to run. And if I'm looking strictly at technicals, it's approaching a previous resistance. It's a strong descending pattern. It's not bullish enough. It doesn't have history of being bullish enough, and because of that, I wouldn't feel comfortable enough, taking a trade. If it gets rejected here at 15 and goes back to 10, I mean, we're talking about what, the 30% sell off, and I don't trade stocks that sell off 30-40% normally, not within a short period of time. I guess I can't say that anymore because Tesla and Nvidia and all of that, when those things begin to pull on back, I hope you guys are ready. That's all I have to say. But so Google undervalued, surge, yeah, I did see that. Google is one of those companies that this year did not perform, or has not been performing the best leading up to its earnings. But everything now, has been performing exceptionally well as, Trump got elected as the president-elect. So now it's not cheap anymore. Now it's overbought once again. RSI is, trading at 70. So not too focused on that. Yep, PLTR just had their earnings before election. Huge AI company, government-based. It's had its own hype within itself. I've been paying very close attention to it. And I've tried shorting it because I was like, dude, this thing is so overbought. It's so incredibly bullish. It just doesn't make sense to short it right now. Let the bulls have it. Direction is in their favor. The hype continues. And for those that want to day trade it, makes complete sense. Direction's in your favor. Momentum doesn't stop. The trend is your friend, right? But as soon as that break of pattern begins to present itself, just look out for yourself. That's all I have to say, right? Look out for yourself. Don't be selfish. Know when to take profits and know when enough is enough, right? You have to be very level-headed. You know that you're running off of a hyped up stock during a hyped up movement, and that's great. Make your money and bounce. And as soon as pattern begins to break, just accept it and move on to the next. So wish you guys nothing but the best. I'm super excited to have a handful of you guys join us for our first live session. I saw a few of you guys ended up joining LPP. We're running a sale starting Friday, actually, where you can join LPP and it breaks down to $1 a day. And yeah, it's a one-time payment, lifetime access. I linked it in the description for you guys. It's the second link in the description down below. You do not have to join, but if you want to watch me trade live every morning starting tomorrow, and if you want access to our A to Z video lesson library that's designed for complete beginners, it's the second link in the description down below. It's going to break down to $1 a day. And yes, it's a one-time payment, lifetime access. And as soon as you sign up, all I ask you to do is watch the first 3 videos in the lesson library, and it will show you exactly how to get connected to our Discord and how to watch me trade live starting tomorrow right at market open. I hope to see you there. Thank you again for your time. Hope that earns a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note.